Test, test, test.
Laws, annual reviews, etc. I also held the position of a contracting officer during my tenure there, which appeared to not be very much needed at that time. So I did not continue in that capacity, but I worked in that capacity. I might not have had the title any longer or the licensing or certificates, but I truly worked in that position. I also held the position as a supervisor, acting in the space of my supervisor who was there during her time off, as well as I had a 90-day, 60 to 90-day tenure as a supervisor while they were putting a new person in place. I trained 5 individuals at the SBA that are BOSs, and some have retired. And then that also included Mr. Bryan and many others, which made up about 5 that I supervised. With that said, welcome to GPI, because I am now a master trainer with GPI in the space of doing business with the federal government, the coaching as well. And I also do some training on the outside for GPI as well. I have my own company, Evaluated Options, that is truly exactly what it says. I evaluate and allow companies to identify what their options are before they move forward in their contracting space, health-wise, which could be eating, as well as maintaining good health regarding to maybe blood pressure, etc., and so on. So I work in the holistic area as well. I provide coaching and training on the Code of Federal Regulations, and I'm going to stop right there. So the basic logistics of that particular company is to help those small businesses to diversify their companies and to know what all options that they have in order to be a successful small business and a successful individual in this lifetime on this earth.
Well, thank you, Ms. Tansen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to pull a team together, especially those of us that have worked at SBA, that really have that passion and heart of serving. First, I like to, I think, dispel a lot of things. I think a lot of people get that 8A certifications and they think, now I have the 8A certification, what are you going to do for me at SBA? In the old days, I think when you all started, there was direct awards coming from SBA to 8A firms. You were in that position to make those, help those firms make those decisions. But somewhere along the line, that was transferred over to the agencies. So when you're looking at your business opportunity specialist, for one, it's too many, there's too many things associated with that position where we truly cannot service you as we would like, because we have all these other tasks as it relates to our performance. So that's why I'm excited that we can really just focus on servicing these small businesses. My first discussion topic, I'm not sure if any of you are aware of the new court ruling where they've actually suspended the new 8A, any new 8A applications. So they're no longer accepting anyone into the program until they decide what they're going to do with that ruling. However, that does not affect anybody that is applying, that currently in the program. You're still able to get access to those awards. When you look at this 8A program, and it's a program that's to my heart, because I know the power of the program, having, I like to say, grown up in it in DC, that's a way to really create generational wealth. But if you don't understand how to leverage it, it's not going to do you any good. So I'm going to open this question up to the panel on what has been your experience and what have you seen as it relates to 8A firms entering into the program and their challenges in winning contracts? And what steps would you all offer to those that have just entered to enter and don't have a clue where to begin? So I'm gonna start back around with Joyce, and then we go to Brian and then to Tansy.
Wow. One of the things that kind of stands out in my head is when we're teaching, the first thing that we are telling our students that the 8A firms need, you don't need to the first step in government contracting is to go after contracts as a small business, right? And the reason being is because it's been my experience that a lot of firms coming into the program, it takes them 4, maybe 5 years before they get their first contract. That is so frustrating to an 8A company. And it's also frustrating to your business opportunity specialist. And now we're in the area where a lot of you, if you're in Georgia, are dealing with new BOSs who themselves are learning the program, learning the process, learning to make the connection. Everything about government procurement is about collaboration and relationships. So you as an 8A firm have to build relationships. If any of you have ever taken any of GPI's class, you know, they teach you how to market your business, where the website to go to look for contracting opportunities. They teach you things like trying to connect with graduating 8A firms or firms who are in the program in an effort to help you to get your foot in the door. So the first step is to get your foot in the door. And it's also the struggle is to get your foot in the door. And you can't do that unless you have built those relationships, unless you know who exactly you should be talking to, who you should be marketing to, and how you should be marketing as an 8A firm. And then, because it's about collaboration and relationships, once you start making those relationships, once you start the collaboration, you'll understand, based on your communication with that contracting officer or that contracting specialist or the small business specialist at that agency, because you got to understand how he or she works. You're going to run into walls. Some people don't like dealing with 8A firms. Let's just put that out. They just don't. They feel like, you know, you're an 8A firm, you know, especially if you come in saying, hey, I'm an 8A firm and you have to give me a contract. They're going to automatically put you in file 13 because they don't have to give you a contract. So they're going to blackball you in their minds. And then that's just going to put up another wall that you're going to have to tear down. So it's just so many things. And I don't want to take up a whole lot of time because I know we don't have but that's my input.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Brian, what has been your experience working with 8A firms and their challenges getting in and getting their first contract?
Yeah, well, I mean, my experience has been, especially with companies that's initially coming into the program, that, you know, past performance thing with them, you know, like Joyce was just mentioning, with them networking and whatnot, and having that, like I said, that past performance and whatnot. I have had different companies to take different approaches when they came into the program and whatnot. It just depends on the type of company also though, because I've had like, just say for example, like IT firms. I had a computer cabling company that came into the program where they were able to get on the GSA schedule, and they were able to get different task orders and whatnot. And they stayed on that for about I think about 7 years, because they were able to get about up to like $5 million in contracts during that time. And that's how they were able to be successful in that and taking that approach. So I guess it depends on the type of company and the approach that they want to take. Also, because I've had construction companies, other janitorial firms, any type of service firms that, team with other companies and whatnot, joint ventured in different things like that. They subbed on projects. But like I said, their biggest obstacles was just mainly just that past performance, different things like that. And I'm trying to think of any other companies that I had that were kind of successful in that regard, though, as far as like the IT companies that were able to get on the supply schedule. I had a couple of furniture companies that were able to get on the federal supply program and whatnot. So, it was different things like that where they got started and got going. They were able to go after the small purchases, the micro purchases also. So just to get their foot in the door and get going and whatnot, different things like that. If you're talking about companies that's just getting going and, just trying to get started and, establish those relationships like Joyce said. So, I mean, those are the things, I more or less experienced during that time.
And you see, and you do see that. They've done all the work to get the 8A applications, but what I experience is now they're looking at me to help them get a contract. That's not my job. That's not that BOS's job. Let's be clear on that. Yes, we have relationships, but you have to understand the language and understand the process, and understand how to leverage. So thank you, Brian. Tansy, can you provide your input with that? Unmute yourself.
Keep muting myself. I don't want the dog to bark, people. Miss Paula actually took the first two things that I was going to say away. It is very important to understand the why. Why did you get certified? If you only got certified to get an 8A contract, you're in the wrong place. So understanding the why, because the 8A program is it's a contracting vehicle, which is a benefit, but it's a business development program. So what is business development in the terminology or the language of SBA's BOS responsibilities and duties? So what I would recommend is you to get clarity. What is your BOS's responsibilities? What do they do for you as a participant in their programs? And how does that fit into your why and what you plan on gaining during your 9-year tenure in that program? The next thing is understanding the processes of the government. If you don't understand what the government does, how they do it, when they get money, when they use money, how they determine they're going to use that money, what their goals are and their strategies, etc., then you're kind of lost as to how you should market and what you should be marketing for and when to be marketing. So that limits your leveraging in that space. The next thing that I see important, and I'm trying to go in the order of a new firm coming into the program. When a firm comes in, one of the expectations of you, and you are told this in your orientation, that you are expected now to provide SBA with a business plan. If you don't understand your business, where you're trying to go from where you are, and what your expectations are as far as strategies throughout at least the minimum of the first year, then you're going to miss out. Because SBA will be reviewing that business plan to determine where they're going to help you. If you don't tell them where you're weak, they don't know what they need to provide to you. They will try to aid you where they may see you're falling short based on your relationship with that BOS. But if you don't have a relationship with BOS, then they can't even pull out of you what it is that you need. So that understanding how to reply in that business plan is now a tool of your helping that BOS to provide services to you. The next thing is now SBA has a requirement for those participants when they complete their SAM profile, after which they go into the DSBS, you have to upload your capability statement. Who knows what a capability statement is most of the time when they come into the program? They don't know. They don't know how to start. They don't know what, only code they probably know is the one they got approved for. How to diversify and add all of the other codes that will make them more, stand out more, they don't know. So capability statement, now it's a requirement that you upload it. So now SBA can look at your capability statement and see a little more, get a little more visual of who you are.
Can I interject for a second with what you're saying? Because I think, again, having played on both sides, I think the government tends to assume that small businesses know that, what you're saying. I don't know, if I'm new, I don't even know what how am I going to be able to tell you what my weaknesses are if I don't even know about this space? And so that now that you all have been working with our small businesses on this side, are you all beginning to see the challenges that businesses, the small businesses have just going through these databases?
Amen, amen, amen. Yes, I do.
What do you say, Joyce? Because again, now you're on the other side and you're trying to even reach people with all your background and network, and it's even harder for you to connect with those with those agencies.
It is, and being on the other side, the very first month, I said to myself, oh my God, now, because when you're in that space as a federal employee, you're in a world where you only see what you see. So now I am on the other side and trying to connect. So the frustration that I was hearing from the clients that would be calling me as a deputy, I actually see it, trying to reach a contracting officer, trying to reach anybody, trying to get a response, and you have this shattering issue that you need to get fixed. And you can't reach a contracting officer. You can't reach your PCR. You can't reach your BOS, because either they're teleworking, this is their day off, but your business is going on and it doesn't stop. So I understand, I am more empathetic to small businesses now because I'm actually seeing for myself the frustration. And this is one of the reasons we teach at GPI that it is your responsibility to educate yourself so that when you run into this, so you have to have a contingency plan in place, not just contingency hires, but a plan in place to say, this is what I'm going to do when this happens. So you have to have that go-to person. Even in GPI, even as working together on this team, we have go-to people. I'm calling you, I'm calling Tansy, I'm calling Brian. Hey, what do you think about this? So if we're doing this, then you as 8A clients need to work together. That's why it's important to know your space, to know your competitors, because your competitor may become your team member, right? So if you're, and it helps in so many areas, like we're teaching on where to go to find these contracts and sources sought. We're teaching about teaming, how it benefits you. What happens when I don't have all of the experience? Can I bring in a teaming partner? Do I need to team? Do I need to joint venture? Can I do this by myself? So there's so much that I have learned on the other side. So God bless you all.
How about you, Tansy?
Well, I think I was the first one just talked about.
Oh, that said, your experience.
Even
on
though I
working
had a
on-
few more things, but yeah.
your thing on the outside, been working on this side and
Well,
understanding.
on this side, I definitely see the struggle of the small businesses that are interested in participating in any of these programs, but more so the 8A program, because they just don't understand the processes, and the BOS is wearing so many hats. If they're not wearing so many hats, because in this particular district office, it's just the circumstances that they are trying to learn themselves. So that takes away from the devoted time to really develop the company. But when I was there, it's like you wearing 10 hats. You're the
Mhm.
attorney, you're the reviewer, you're the BOS, you're the analyzer, you're the counselor. You're just playing
Po-po.
all kinds of hats. And we're not financial people. I'll just use that one as an example that I'm seeing even with the small businesses that come to GPI. They don't even realize their accounting system is not in order.
Mhm.
So if your accounting system is not in order, you might not really even know what kind of money you have that you're working with. Understanding you can't wait until you get a contract to have money. You got to have some working capital to start off with to pay payroll and whatever else that you need to do, just in case you don't get paid, not because the Prompt Payment Act is not there, but you didn't send a complete invoice, or your invoice wasn't right. So you wondering why you didn't get paid in time, and you all mad, but it's because you didn't do your part. And then on this side too, I've come to realize that people have their businesses structured improperly. Some of them have 5, 6 companies out there. Some of them are LLCs when they should be in LLC filing as an S corp, or they're corporations, but in actuality, they're not corporations. Have they filed all the necessary paperwork? And then they find out all of a sudden when SBA do a review, oh, I don't have this, that, and the other. So yes, that's what I'm seeing on this side, in addition to what I had already previously said, is not having a strategy, not understanding the why, and not knowing the processes of working in the government contracting space.
Thank you. And Brian, what was the challenge? Did I you? Or am I going back? Like I'm remembering the order.
Oh, no, but I mean, just briefly, I mean, the things that I've seen, but not personally on, I guess, this side, but it's mainly still with companies. I mean, them understanding, like, just say, for example, with Certified and whatnot, the things that they go, the obstacles that they're going through with that, reapplying for their HubZone certification. I mean, as far as like things on that side, I mean, it might be kind of off base, is what I'm speaking toward, as far as like what I'm seeing. But as far as like helping companies, get to that point where they can understand what to submit, how to submit it, what SBA is looking for, as far as that's concerned. I mean, that's what but not me personally. The things that I've seen, as a small business and whatnot, but those things that I've noticed, on this side now, as far as that's concerned. So yeah.
And Tansy, you forgot to say we were the po-po. As part
Well,
of
I
my
think I
job.
have, because I have so many people right now that are always telling me, you try to be so much by the book, Miss Tansy. You acting like you the police. Well, when you with the SBA, you are the
You
police.
are, you are the police.
You are the police.
You are.
Mhm.
So, even in our trainings, we try to have the companies to understand we are working as if we are the SBA coming to you, asking you for these documents or reviewing them. And at the same time, we play that same role as if we're the contracting officer or the contracting specialist or the contracting technical representative. So don't come, yep, to us, because we just want you to get it together. We don't have time to educate you and to teach you all of these things. Although the program is a business development program, I think it needs to be reinforced even the more that these companies are being developed. They are growing. They are struggling, trying to make these things happen. So in working with the companies, give them a little leeway. But in reality, that doesn't happen.
Not a lot of hand,
A lot of what?
it's not a lot of handholding
Right.
within the program. You might not get that. How can I explain it?
But
As
we
far-
handhold them right here in GPI. So just to
Yeah,
let you know,
yeah.
we are here to help you. So if
Yeah.
it takes us to hold your hand a little bit, that's what we want to do, because we want to make sure that you are successful in this space.
Right, and that's,
Especially because you have the top on.
yes.
You have the time clock on your back. And I know this program is so vital to our community. And we need to understand how to leverage it. I'm gonna open it up about 5 minutes to the audience to see if they have any questions. If not, I'll continue to delve into the discussion topics. Does anyone have any questions?
Hello, Ms. Paula and everyone.
Hi, Labrisha, our shining star. Love Miss Labrisha.
I appreciate you all. I appreciate everything that you all are bringing to the table. So yeah, it is what you all say it is. It is the Wild Wild West. And Ms. Paula, I've learned more from your teaching than I actually did at the SBA. So I don't think it's anyone's fault. It is what it is. We just have to take this and run with it and support one another. And I appreciate all that you all are doing. This is awesome. So this is so great. Thank you so much.
And you've been in the 8A how long?
I just got into my 6th year.
Okay. And have you began to think, I think I found that as my experience. I asked you guys that as well, that they don't really have an exit plan. Because generally what I see is by the 4th or 5th year, they get their first contract, and then the contracts start coming in and nobody starts thinking, oh, what happens after I graduate?
I've had 4 sole source 8A contracts, and my first one, I don't know if Ms. Joyce remember, they were at the National Guard base up in Cobb County, and the guy was on the stage and he said, everybody that's here is going to get a contract. And I stalked him for 6 months, and that's how we got our first contract. So everything you told us to do, attend industry days, respond to sources out, you just got to do the work. Like, your formula works. We have to do the work. And people think, I think when they get into the program, they think, what got you into business? Like Tansy said in the beginning, you have to keep marching for your business. The $8 is not an end all be all. It's just an extra tool that you have.
Can I ask you a question, Ms.
Yes,
Dawson? One of the pitfalls that I found, and one of the frustration for me when I was in the 8A program, is that for some reason, firms in the 8A program really didn't like to work together, or like they didn't trust each other. I couldn't figure it out, where, you have all of these regulations that were changed to allow companies to work together, like those teaming agreements. And I know we tell you, I used to tell companies, okay, you got to court whoever you're dealing with, and that's true. But why is that? Why is there such a distrust with
each other?
I'm trying to say it politically correct.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's because of the 8A program. That's just probably mindset and culture. So if you take the 8A program away, that's just probably how we deal with one another anyway. So, but I don't have a distrust for my fellow man. I'm eager to work with people that I know that I can trust and that have shown the track record of being successful. So I'm not opposed to that. I think that's just more of a mindset and culture, not the 8A program.
And it is retraining us. That's why in the module, I put people into teams so that they can understand how powerful it is for us to work together. Thank you, Breezy. But what I also realized when I left the DMV area, there's almost 1,700 firms in Maryland, Virginia, and DC, where in Georgia, it's been kind of consistent with 200 firms. So you have a lot of the firms from DC coming here to win contracts because there's no competition.
Right.
But again, I think people, and maybe I could ask someone else do I have anybody else that want to share their journey with the 8A certification, and what have been your challenges in getting in the door? If you've won something through the program or you haven't. So I'd like to hear from some of you guys so we can hear where we can potentially assist you. Anybody?
Hey, Paula, it's Dr. Angela. How are you?
Yeah. All right. How are you, Dr. Angela?
Awesome. Hey, Miss Joyce. Hey, Tansy. Hey, Mr. Murden. Thank you so much for your time today and for all of y'all's expertise. I'm relatively new to 8A. I went through GPI, loved the course, sent so many people to this course as well. And, you know, I am one of those people that by the time I got to applying for 8A, you know, I was already on $24 million plus contracts. And so I saw success before 8A, and then saw success while I was still waiting for the 8A approval. And so I already knew, you know, capability statements. I was already attending matchmaking and, you know, all of these different things. Wherever I could put myself in the room, I was there. Especially things that were local to Atlanta, because we have such a great community of federal contractors and federal contracting businesses. And then I haven't personally seen anyone that doesn't want to partner. I think I get an abundance of people who want to partner. So that hasn't been a barrier at all. One of the things that I find challenging is knowing how and who to actually network with so that they know who we are. That's kind of been the thing. So it's like, the question is always, am I in the right room for the people that I am here to serve so that they know who I am and I am here to give them what they need? And I think that's been the biggest challenge, because we could go to all of these different, like I've gone to industry days and everything is cybersecurity. And although that's amazing, it's just inefficient for me because it's not my niche. It's not what I'm looking to do. And even if it is organizations that are in the same realm of what I do, they're still not there for what I do. They're still there for cybersecurity, or even though they're a health agency, right? So for me, I think the biggest challenge is, where do you go so that you are properly introduced to people in the federal space who can help you? And then one of the things that I've just done to kind of sidestep it is doing things at the state level, you know, getting involved with or having people, you know, creating programs with workforce development, getting my business approved for things like that, creating apprenticeships with the Department of Labor. I've got every possible certification except vet, because I'm not a vet. So I don't have SDV, BOSB, but I have DBE, MBE, FBE, you name it, I got it. So so for me, it's just a matter of, after you've done everything right, when do we finally say, okay, I think the system is flawed? Because for those of us who are new, right, who are like, I got 8A November of last year, right? And so for those of us who are new and seasoned, they're constantly giving 8A contracts to people who already have them. So how do the new people get introduced and get these opportunities when we're well qualified to do the work? So that's been those have been like my biggest challenges. Where do I go to make sure I'm in the proper place for the people that I can serve and who need me? And then how do I get to know these people and keep an ongoing relationship so that they're able to then take a chance and say, okay, great, you've amassed this amount of federal contracts. I think we can give you some low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
right.
Miss Paula, can I address her?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is Miss Dawson. Okay, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just gonna be honest, right? If I had that same mindset when I showed up at that National Guard, let me tell you something, I didn't know how to rub two screws together, but I went to that industry day anyway. I knew nothing about IT, and that was our first contract. You have to go in faith that they're gonna give you something. I didn't have all of the past performance they're talking about. You have the juice, your business is great. You go with the confidence knowing that you're gonna bring something back. Even if it's an IT conference, sometimes they have other people there that have other industries that they service within the agency. So I want to be somewhere where there is not a lot of competition or people that look like me. So just kind of shift that mindset a little bit. Whenever there's the industry day, you get in there in that room and you email those people and ask them, hey, is there somebody else that you can put me in contact with that do what I do? Get in the door. Just don't look at it like it's not what I do today, because it could be next year. You know what I mean?
And the thing about, and to piggyback on Labrisha, that day when you did your elevator pitch
Mhm,
speech,
mhm.
and you
Yes.
introduced yourself to the contracting officer,
Mhm.
because SBA was there, I went back to the contracting officer and said to him, okay, you need to give this young lady a contract. Okay. He's like, okay, Mr.
Wow.
So you never know, right? Because it is
Mhm.
our job, because I'm telling him, okay, she's took the time to come out, she's introduced herself, she's done an excellent job in representing who she is. Did you understand? Was she clear? Was were you impressed? So I had an opportunity to drill him, and he says, okay, Joyce, I promise you, I'm going to give her a contract. And I said, my pitch is always, just give her a small enough contract that you're comfortable to see her capabilities and watch it grow. Okay, I'm just asking you to just give her an opportunity, because what you said, Dr. Kruger, is so very true. And because we're dealing with people, one of the issues that BOSs have across the country is once you are 8A certified, you go in and you get a contract with an agency, any agency, you do an excellent job. Guess what? That contracting officer don't want to hear from SBA. They want to stick with that 8A company. So then it becomes a fight for the BOSs to say, come on, can you give another company a chance? So again, it's not just about relationship for you as a company, but it's about relationships as your BOSs. But if you have BOSs that are wearing, because hear what we say, you got these BOSs that are wearing all these different hats, which is one of the reasons I retired. I got tired of wearing all these hats. It's too much, right? And you want to be able to support, when you get a contract, you may think you having a good feeling, but it's the best feeling in the world for us to be able to say, I had a hand in this company getting a contract.
And I think for a lot of people, again, I've been in this space for 30 plus years. And when I met Joyce and when I relocated here to this office, I had no idea that what her office did. And to me, that kind of offset what we did as a BOS, because her office, the Office of Government Contracting, and as the PCR Procurement Center representative, to me, that was a gold mine, because you have the direct relationships with those agencies and the power to say yay or nay. Am I correct? Can you tell a little?
Right, because what happens with the PCRs? PCRs are, SBA as a whole is an oversight agency. So when a contracting officer have a requirement, they are supposed to do A, B, C, and D. They're supposed to market. Small businesses are supposed to be the first entities that they're looking at. Small business, 8A, women-owned, HUBZone. Those are the social economical firms are supposed to be their first look at. And so things like sources sought, and the reason why we say respond to those sources sought is because it gives a PCR leverage to say, okay, let me see your market research that you have done, contracting officer, and let me see the responses, right? If a PCR is looking at it, they get to say to an agency, no, they are small businesses who could perform the requirement, who have replied, or responded to the sources sought, this will be set aside. If it's not set aside, then we have, PCRs have the authority to hold up a procurement. They'll say,
Y'all hear
well,
that?
you cannot award this contract until we settle this issue. And the PCRs will go out and do other market research. So sometimes you may get an email to say, hey, are you interested? This is not a RFP, this is just a request for information. There's a potential project coming out. I just need to know if you're interested. And wars have been won using that stick.
And what you said, thank you, Joyce. When you talked about the source of salt notice, I don't think people understand the importance of those notices. So Tansy and Brian, when I was the BOS there, I would have my 8A firms to respond to those notices and then have them to submit an inquiry for us to set it aside specifically for those agencies. I mean, for that firm. Did you find that to be an effective approach for your 8A firms?
You talking about, oh, go ahead, Tansy, go ahead.
I did, and I did that quite often. The problem sometimes ran into multiple others that might have been in the front of you, that district office or BOS would have sent the same request. But when you have a little niche for your companies in how they submitted information and how I followed up with that contract specialist, and sometimes the relationships that you may even have with that contract specialist. We had a part in working with those individuals as well. So that relationship sometimes can be key, because you can even, I don't really want to use the word persuade, but if you know your company and you know that they responded, you know how they responded, you know what the source of salt notice required, then you can kind of, talk a little positive on behalf of your firm to encourage that BOS to, not that BOS, I'm sorry, that contract specialist to review that company very, carefully, rather than maybe the other 6 that may have come in, because they do have to consider everybody. They can't just pick one person because you say, use my firm. They've got to give equal opportunity to every individual that responded. And based on those responses, they make their decision how they're going to, bring this project out. So that was my thing. I think my relationship made the difference. The relationship I had with the contracting department or the acquisition department prior to the advertisement. And a lot of times I could see that before it ever got on the street, even as a source of salt.
Correct. Very good. Ryan, we got about 3 minutes.
No, it just basically, I was gonna just piggyback off of what Tansy just said and say sort of similarly the same thing though, because that's what I would do also though. As far as like with the companies that were in my portfolio and whatnot, because I would contact the agency also, just basically just like Tansy said, kind of not necessarily like she said persuade them, but kind of
Can you hook a sister up over here?
So yeah, some of the same things. So yeah.
We do have some construction firms on here, and we have someone from California. What we also try to get you all to understand is not to necessarily pigeonhole yourself into any one specific industry, especially in this space. For me, working in Philadelphia where I started, and we had a lot of construction firms. But what I found with the construction firms industry is that we can't get bonding or have the capacity. So for me, it's spending it, and because construction is project driven, I'm looking at maybe adding a different division that's facility support. Because the same skill sets you're using on the construction side, going to need to be able to service that building. Have you all had any successful construction 8A firms in this space that was able to leverage that certification? Chandra, you had your hand up. Yes, ma'am. You've been successful you've been getting a lot of 8A contracts for construction.
Yeah, I got one from GSA,
Okay.
a 3.1 million design build.
Okay.
And
very good. Very good.
Yeah, I don't know how. I think what happened was because I was like, how did this happen? But we did a lot of work for the judges. We were renovating their space in the courtrooms, and they had a lot of good things to say about us. And I didn't know about it until we got this. And I was like, how did this happen? What did we do right or wrong? And they were like, the judges liked you guys. They're hard to please. So here you go.
Very good. Very good. Very good. We are at 1 p.m. I do want to go over some last things. We are offering as part of GPI, I have a class where we've teamed up with this attorney from DC, and we call it Bidding on Steroids. This has been one of our success programs where she's literally walking you through the process and submitting bids. Each week, you're identifying and she's providing one-on-one. It's pretty intense. She just completed the training in June. And from June, she had at least 2 people who've already won contracts. And the reason I wanted to pull this webinar together now, because it's at the end of the quarter, the 4th quarter. This is where the government is really awarding contracts because they have to get rid of the money. And to me, the 8A vehicle is the easiest vehicle for these agencies to award contracts. Would you all agree, my colleagues?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's now positioning yourself to put your name in the pot. For me, it's just a fishnet at this last quarter. When I was in DC, we used to call it Christmas season on the other side because we knew that's when the government was going to be getting rid of all of their money. So I would encourage you all to go ahead and put your name in the pot. If you're interested in this Bidding on Steroids, I highly recommend it because she is the real deal. She just takes my stuff and just put it on steroids where you're actually doing live training. This class is $18.50. It's 12 sessions, and you're getting one-on-one coaching. I like her because has the legal expertise in SBA's programs, as well as being trained as a technical writer with some of the Hewlett Packards. She just helped our client win an $85 million contract. I could never take you all to that level. I wanted to build a team of people that have more expertise than I do. So I would encourage you all to take this and put your name in the pot, especially since we at the end of the year. It's going to start August 15th, next Tuesday. And again, you're meeting 3 times a week. And it's pretty intense, but you're going to have tangible items that you're going to have. Anyone have any questions? This is our information. If you want to reach out, make sure you put your information in the chat. We can give everyone access to people's contact information because again, for us, it's all about collaboration. And everybody understanding, we pull your resources together and we can go after the larger contracts. I also have to give Ms. Dawson her props. I am just so proud of this young lady, as well as Connie. Connie has been in the program and she's won contracts and gotten out of her comfort zone. That's Connie Watson online. Hi, Connie. But Breezy, she took it to another level in winning $1 billion contract. And that wasn't an 8A competitive contract, was it, Breezy? What type of contract was that? Labrisha, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Miss Paula, can you say that again? I'm so sorry.
I was saying I was proud of you in winning that $1 billion contract. Was that a small business or 8A? What type of contract
No,
was it?
It's full and open.
Full and open.
Wow.
So come on, y'all. If she can do it and she put the time and energy in it to learn it, because that's what's important. She couldn't have been able to compete if she didn't understand the process and going through it herself.
And let me tell you one more other thing I learned in your class. And when you're learning it, it just seemed like sometimes the information is too much. But I remember that acronym PCR, Procurement Center Representative. The agency tried to bundle this contract. Remember, I had it as a small business. And when they put it back out there, they bundled it. I said, you know what, instead of me complaining, let me just try to get the resources together. We had to get a large line of credit. I reached out to the PCR out of DC, but none of that really helped me. But still, I had the resources and you armed us how to fight. So it worked out in my favor. So here we are today. So again, people, please pay attention to what they're teaching you because it's real.
Yes. And do you all have any closing remarks? Joyce, Brian, and Tansy.
For those of you who are trying to have been in a program, I hear you, doctor, that it takes putting the time in, you're putting the time in, don't give up. You know, stay the course, because I do remember working in being in the office saying, you know what, I got to find this person a contract, right? And so you do get that mindset. And I have dealt with so many contracting officers who would say, well, if I don't see their name come across my desk, that means they're not taking the time to bid. And so you're being seen, you're being heard. And it's going to happen. I can't tell you when, but it's going to happen. Just don't give up.
Very good. Brian, your last closing?
Oh yeah, just quickly and briefly, just 3 words. Don't be discouraged. Bottom line, just don't be discouraged. Just like Joyce said, don't give up. I mean, just keep at it and whatnot. So yeah, just my closing remarks right there.
Thank you. And Ms. Jones, you get to close us out.
My recommendation is going to be take advantage of the information that you have. If you know that you're falling short somewhere, go get what you need to get, because it's not going to come. I guess I can say at least 85% of the chance you're not going to get it from your BOS. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, with that being said, thank you guys for joining us. I hope you got some information that's going to help you. I will also again encourage you to join that Bidding on Steroids for this last quarter. And again, your vehicle as an 8A is the easiest vehicle for an agency to use. So if you're responding to bids or you're responding to source of salt notice and it looks pretty good, you can't give them garbage, but it looks pretty good, then they can set it aside and they can keep it moving rather than going through the whole competitive process. So with it, like everyone else said, keep your eyes on the prize. It's work, but in the end, if you put the work in, it does pay off. With that being said, I'm going to close for today. Thank you guys. And thank you to my XPA people. Let's give y'all them a hand, everyone. All right. Have a good one.